Hey everyone, Eggman here with another video, and today we have a top 8 breakdown for the pre-regionals I hosted with Zulu Card Games. And real quick before we get started, first, big shoutouts to Zulu Card Games. Make sure to check them out. I would not be able to run this tournament, or at least run this tournament for free without them, so do appreciate that. 2, if you guys want to see any of the deck lists, they are linked in the description, which is on my website right here, which also has a link to the Twitch VOD, so that we did stream this event too. That should also be in the description, so if you guys want to see some games from this tournament, that is there, and I will be re-uploading it to my YouTube in the next week or so. Also, I'm going to try to get it out Friday, so I know a lot of people are traveling for some of the regionals this weekend, so I do want to have like some travel footage for people who want to watch that, but that should be up pretty shortly too. That's really it. So thank you guys also for just all the support for these tournaments as well. If you haven't joined my tournament Discord, it's linked in the description. We don't have a regular schedule for tournaments, and I'm kind of rotating between all the games that I cover, but there will be more One Piece tournaments in the future, so make sure to check out the Discord so you get a notification when those go live. So anyways, going into this top 8 breakdown, the leaders itself, we did have 2 Kinemons, 2 Dofis, 1 Newgate did end up winning the tournament, 1 Smoker, 1 Zoro, and a Monkey D. Luffy as well. So honestly, a little bit more diverse than we have been seeing. Obviously, this was a 36-person tournament, so nothing too big for a tournament this size, but I do appreciate the diversity on what people were playing and choosing, and even though Newgate did win the event, it was the only one in the top 8, which is really interesting too. So I do think that is a little impactful there. And if we look at the total breakdown too, we did have only 7 Newgates and 5 Zoros, so that's kind of probably part of it. Most of the time, like, we see a little bit more in like these tournaments here, but a third, I guess, between Zoro and Newgate isn't too bad there. We also had 4 Kinemons, 4 Luffys, 1 Dofi, 3 Smokers, 2 Emporios, 2 Kids, and then Magellan, Law, Sanji, and Zephyr. Shoutouts to the Sanji player. That was the first time I'd ever seen the list run. I think they played 3 Newgates back to back, which was they won 2 but couldn't get the third one. But it was really fun to watch the deck in action. And looking at the leaders too, like Dofi did really great. 2 of the 3 Dofis got into the top 8, which is really good. Luffy was good. Smoker, only 3 of them, but 1 of them got second, which is cool. And just kind of everything else. So we're going to look at the top placing list for each leader, starting off with our first place list here. So this is Ryan's list for Newgate. And, a little bit of a spice here. Not too much. I think this deck's just really understood for how it is, but the unique pick for me is the Marco here. So blocker and on KO may trash 1 card from your hand with Whitebeard Pirates in its type. If you have 2 or less life in play, if you have 2 or less life, play this card from your trash rested. So this is also not like a once per turn, so you could keep recycling him if you want to. And just having like a blocker is really nice. And worst case too is a blocker that, yeah, sure, you can block with it, it gets deleted or KO'd, and then you get to bring it back. It just means like you can have another attack next turn if you really need it, which I think is really nice. The only difference I would say I would make with this is that I would consider running the plus 2k counter from Whitebeard to do that. That has the rush just for another target for it. But we do have quite a bit. We have 4 Marcos, 4 Newgates, 3 Ace, and 3 King Deuce. So not as much as I'd say like the generic Boatbeard version of it, but there are quite a few cards that you can use to discard to make sure that this stays healthy, which is nice. Other than that, kind of just what we're used to seeing in a lot of ways. Just a bunch of 2k counters with Usopp, Sanji, Luffy. All of them are Straw Hats, which I said this on stream. It's criminal how much like red gets plus 2ks. Like I think green has 3 2k counters in the game right now. There's more 2k counters with Straw Hat tags specifically than I think green has in its own, its whole lineup, which is really silly. But you really start to feel that. But Newgate really can take advantage of it. Being an 8k every swing for just 1 card is really strong. And we've been seeing it. We'll see if anyone finds a code, cracks the code to consistently beat this deck and be relevant in other matchups. But I think Newgate is still really good in this format. Next up, we have our second place list. So this is RJ's Smoker list. And shout out to RJ. It was his first webcam tournament, and he did really, really well at it. And we've been seeing Smoker being played quite a bit in the last couple of weeks. And most, a lot of the decks have a lot of different ratios, which is really interesting because, this is a deck that, a color in the card game that has the smallest card pool right now. But there's still like a lot of ways that you can kind of bend it to what you kind of like for the deck. So some choice cards I would say for this one. One, not everyone plays this 3-drop smoker, but this is kind of nice for what it is. It does become a 6K pretty easily, and just having like you're gonna have to play second, or you're gonna have to play first a lot in this game, right? There's just gonna be times where most people I think want to go second in most of their decks right now, and so you're one of them. And so having this 3-drop to say, you know what, I can't go first, or I have to go first, I can't go second. So I at least have a play I consistently do turn 2, and this can be 6K pretty easily, which is great, especially if you're playing against Newgate. And not being able to be KO'd by effect is actually pretty strong as well, but it just means like your opponent has to waste an attack trying to deal with this. So it kind of has like a pseudo blocker in that way, which is nice. And I don't know, that card's kind of grown on me. Helmeppo, I really do like this card though in the deck, especially because it has a trigger, and this can get powered up pretty easily. This can easily be a 5K as well. So that's really strong for the deck as well. And then kind of generically everything else we want for it. Kuzan's I think is a 2 or 3. I don't think it's a 4 of anymore. There's just so many times when you're playing against the Newgate matchup that it's just stuck in your hand and you can't really do anything about it, which really stinks. Sakazuki's definitely way better for what you need for that same kind of idea where you can't do anything with this card in your hand. The Smoker from the starter deck, this is kind of grown on me too. Is just kind of stuck in your hand a lot of the time, which is unfortunate. And all the cards in our deck that don't have counters are the Kuzans, the Sakazuki, and the Smoker. So 13 cards, and then your 2 event cards, which is fine. You just have to be careful, like that. As long as you see them and you have time to play your cards without counters, you are pretty good there. For Impact Wave, because it's still a stupid strong card, and then Meteor Volcano. This is fine. So you just get to KO 1, and for the trigger 2, drawing 2, and discarding 1 is actually really strong as well. So in general, it looks like a really solid build. I've been liking Smoker a lot, and I think it's a really cool deck. Still, we'll have to see how it does in the next couple weeks. But again, congrats to RJ there. Next up, we have Zoro, and I keep saying this, like Zoro is still a really solid deck, and I think it's probably one of the most popular decks people have been running. But it is. I think it just has a rough matchup against Newgate, and a lot of people who want to play aggression just find more success with Newgate. So he's kind of fallen a little bit because of that, but he's still really strong for what he does. And I don't know, he just doesn't like give as much benefit as Newgate at times. But I honestly wonder what the 1-drop package would look like in Newgate itself, if people could make that work, just because of how it is and everything else everyone's using. But thoughts aside, I do like what this deck is doing, and I do like the Magra. I do like this one at least 2 or 3 copies. Some people don't run this card, but I still think this is really strong for what it does, being able to boost up something, like just be like a slightly worse version of Makino, at least on board, but in hand for sure, but board, for once being able to do it. Vista's still a strong card. Nico Robin's still a good card. Curly to Dan is absurd in this deck too. And then Brooks, Zoros, Luffy's, and Newgates. You do have to be careful about your Zoros, Luffy, like this high end here, just because like you always want to play like your 1-drops from your hand most of the time. And so not being able to have time to play these cards, they're just stuck in your hand a lot. But I do think that's strong. 1 Gum Red Hawk. I think this is good. I've been kind of turned back on to Radical Beam in this deck, just as like an emergency defense tool if you really need it. 2 is a lot for Zoro to leave open sometimes, so 1 is way more manageable. And a lot of people kind of play around a Red Hawk anyways. And then Jet Pistol, which again, we are playing the Gordon, which means that you do get like more things into range, so that's kind of strong there too. Especially with like Nico Robin, you get something 6K, or Vista, 6K pretty much bops everything on curve, which is really, really nice. So that's pretty much everything I have here. I like Zoro a lot. I think it's good, but I think it's going to be hard to contest against Newgate a lot of the time. So this was Rosalio's list here, and congratulations there. Next up, we have Kinemon, which he's always... I always like him a little bit less every week, I'll be honest. I think that Kinemon is really strong for what he does, and my big issue with him is that you get like 1 proc of his effect, usually per game, maybe 2, and that's it. Like that is the entirety of what his effect is. You usually get like a good turn 2 or 3, and then you pretty much stop getting any advantage from him, which is a real stinker. And additionally, like none of the cards in this deck are specifically only cards used by Kinemon, which is kind of silly. But he is good. I think green has like a good generic package, obviously, and we've been seeing a lot of this. I do like some personal choices. One, I like Yamato's Secret Rare. I think you should run this at least 2 or 3. It's never dead in hand, and it does get a lot of advantage for you. Your opponent is forced to play the game differently if this is on your side of the board, which is really fun. Trafalgar Law at 3, maybe a little much, but I do like it at least 2. X Drake is great. Captain Kidd 2. This is like the backup kind of card for you in a lot of ways. But this is definitely a high rolling, no counter deck with the Laws, the Kid, the 8-drop Kid, which I think people need to start playing this card again. I'll be honest. I think this still does a lot of work and a lot of archetypes and a lot of games, and you have to. It's really worth it, 100%. I think it's worth it in a lot of ways. So do consider playing that. It's super good. And then we also have the 8-drop Odin, which is very good. 4 is a lot, especially with all the other things. But if you play this card on curve, there's a lot of times where you just win. So if you're able to be kind of like, I would almost say like passive aggressive, where you're just kind of slowly playing stuff and clearing the board every time, this can just put a lot of value and pressure on your opponent that's really hard to get around. So that is kind of like my idea. I do also like the Toki. I do think you play enough Yamatos that it's and Odins that's worth it. And I just wish there's more 2K counters in this deck. Like it's criminal there aren't. So it makes it really hard on the defense side sometimes. But I also find that like no event cards is fine in a deck like this. So anyways, this is Charles's list, and congrats to Charles there. And then next up, this is Maxim's Luffy list. And you guys know I'm a big fan of Luffy here. And this is a kind of a unique build for it. It's kind of like the reverse of like, this is a Luffy beard in the sense that, not a lot of these cards for this deck really care about having Newgate as your leader. It's very honestly interesting, like how few cards are like really leader locked in this game in general right now. But going into it, we are running Marcos in this build, which again, we were talking about it in Newgate. It's really strong to be like a passive like defense card too, and so we're running some Atmos, we're running some King Dew, we're running even a Thatch here just to help you keep it more targets for your discard, but also letting you like. Any of these cards on curve are really good, I'll be honest. Like King Dew on curve, especially since you get to play it, and then you can use Luffy ability to give your leader the 1k to make it a 6. All that seems really, really strong in a lot of ways. So being able to just play some chunky vanillas and be really like proactive with the amount of Dawn you're getting with your leader and getting the advantage there. I think that's like the way you have to build Luffy to kind of differentiate itself from Zoro, is that you just play the chunky guys on curve and you feel good about it. It's probably still just a worse Newgate, if I'm going to be honest, though. But just because you are a 5K leader, but you do get to do the cheese of like the double Newgate and being able to put 2 underneath with the first Newgate you played, which is really nice. So getting that, popping something for 3K or less, and then having a 12K swing and your leader swing, that can be really, really strong. In this, so I like that's like the biggest reason to play Luffy, is that the fact that you can play Newgate a little bit easier, and the fact that you can double him, like the double up with him is really, really good. So other than that, I like Luffy, you guys know that, and congratulations to Maxim there. And our last one of the day, this is our 7th place Donquixote Doflamingo list, and I've been kind of slowly really digging this leader in a lot of ways right now. I think it just gains a lot of value, and the only issue with it in general is that you don't get to there's just no rush in this game, which is really unfortunate. But we do have our list here, and they submitted it with this Jinbei. They can let me know if it's right or wrong or not. I know we do have like the new tournament promo Jinbei too, so that it might be that, and it's just the wrong import or for whatever reason. But I do like the idea that like this Jinbei is really good though too. So on play, you just get to bottom deck something with 3 cost or less. I wish it did have the actual warlords, or not warlords. It is warlords. 7 warlords. I wish it had it. Unfortunately, just because like. You get some like more effect off your Dofi, but it's fine. Being able to trigger off your life is pretty good there too. And then just kind of like the generic stuff we see for this deck in general. We are running the Kuma, but we also aren't running the bears. So, but you can do some stuff there. We also are running the new Boa Hancock as well. When attacking, you get to draw 1, trash 1, then trash up to 3 cards from your hand. It's just like a worse version of Mihawk in this deck, which is fine because Mihawk still is really good for what we're doing. And then, unless it's the other Boa Hancock and it's just like a double miss for this, it could be the blocker one. I'll update this deck list if it is wrong. But this is what was submitted, and from what I saw for it. So, but Gecko strong. I really do like this vanilla Gecko, to be honest. This is actually really nice in this deck. Being able to play a 6K on your second turn if you find it with your Dofi is good there. No Perona. Oh yeah, sorry. There's Perona. Perona turn 1 still good. Into even like a Dofi blocker the next turn is good too. And then you're running 3 of the 7 drop, 2 of the 9 drop, and even 2 of the Crocodile, which I haven't seen this guy in a really long time. But this could be really good against Zoro. If you're really not liking the Zoro matchup, the on block to place up to 1 character with cost of 2 or less of the Bomber Runner's deck is really strong. So I do like the idea that, you know what, if I don't like if there's too many decks that are running cards just too low to the ground, this is really good for getting rid of them as well. So I do like that add there. So really kind of more unique list of Dofi from what I've seen, some interesting ratios and card choices. But again, congrats to Sean on their finish there. And that's going to be it for me. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. Again, if you guys want to see the VOD, it's on Twitch and it should be re-uploaded here in the next couple of days, as well as if you guys want some, to be in the next tournament, they're free to enter. There's a cap, and people usually quit. It's usually like a wait list to get in there, but most people on wait list get on there because a lot of people drop at the last minute. But they have been really fun. I'm going to be doing more in the future, and I hope you guys are on the lookout for that. But that's going to be it for me. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you all next time.